This is the second studio hosted by the Architecture and Design Office fame. My name is David Lee, and with me is Marina Borderonnet. The two of us are architects, partners at the office, and of course, hosts of the show. Well, you don't like that pronunciation?
Borderonnet.
And host of the show. And today we're doing a design review episode. Some of our favorite episodes are these. We don't do them often enough. And today we're going to talk about...
You're speaking for the two of us here?
Well, you don't like the design review episodes?
I like the after hours.
And today we're going to talk about the LACMA extension museum done by Peter Zumthor, designed by Peter Zumthor.
Can you tell us what LACMA stands for?
Nope. And the executive architect was SOM, and I think they provided the engineering also. Project cost, reportedly $800 million.
Oh, it just increased by 50 million.
From your article, yeah. Well, that was something that Christopher Hawthorne wrote, previous guest of ours, and I trust him because he's
an accountant.
Yeah. Sponsors. The second studio is brought to you by Chaos. They make award-winning design and visualization tools, and they're really pushing the boundaries with AI. As we all know, AI is shaking up the architecture and design world, and Chaos is taking a responsible approach. Their tools are built to help architects, designers, and visualization specialists work faster and explore more ideas without replacing creativity. Basically, Chaos wants AI to make your imagination stronger and not take over, so you get to design with more freedom, create stunning visuals, and stay in control of your work. If you want to see what that looks like, tap the Chaos link in our show notes.
Stop juggling multiple pieces of software and struggling with design-unfriendly spreadsheets. Programma, built by designers for designers, provides an integrated suite of tools for every phase of your project, from mood boards to advanced specification tools, procurement tracking to project management. Seamlessly integrated, easily shareable, and always current, Programma reduces redundancy and minimizes costly error. Join interior design movers and shakers by starting for free at programma.design/secondstudio. Experience the difference with Programma, software built for interior design workflows.
This is the second studio with the two of us. Here we go. So there's been a lot of controversy about this building for the last 15 years. 15 years in the make, yeah.
Well, it got approved in 2019.
I know, but it's been in the controversy, the discussions about it have been around for quite some time. And finally, it's constructed. A lot of excitement in the architecture industry. Everyone's excited. Everyone's wanting to know what we think. And what do? We wait.
Actually, I have a friend who texted me and she's like, oh yeah, I saw your story. You guys went to LACMA. What do you think? I'm like, we're doing a recording about it. You have to stay tuned.
We're it's been open for a while. What took you so long to get there?
I have to say, I do very much enjoy the experience of the elevator that gets you up to LACMA. It's a small moment. It's only a 2-level parking lot, but it's a glass elevator, and I feel like I'm being dug out of dirt of earth, and rising up. I don't know. I just really enjoy the elevators. That's the best part of the plaza, I think.
It is cool. So underground parking, but the elevator around it has an atrium that's cut out that's open to the sky. So you get that contrast of parking garage darkness and then natural light coming down this shaft of light. And it's interesting because you don't have to search for the elevator. One, the parking garage is not that big, but you see it as this thing of light and you walk toward it like a moth to a flame.
But it's nothing really special. I mean, it's just a hole and a glass box.
But it also is an example of, the things could be a lot better if you just put a little thought into it instead of whatever else.
So you do that, and then you get into kind of the big, plaza that you see on Instagram, the one that has the lights of the LACMA, people take selfies, and then there is the booth where you get your tickets. I do have to say that main plaza, with the big awning where you get your tickets, I really hate it.
Oh, we didn't take a picture of that. Yeah, I agree.
I'm like, okay, so I got this mini magical experience, raising out of the dirt, up to the surface, and then I'm welcoming by what? Emptiness? It just feels like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a little bit underwhelming of an arrival.
You're right that when you arrive at the street level, I guess, the plaza level, it's just the bulkhead of the elevator. So there's no like transition from the elevator cab to that space. You just empty directly onto it. Is that why it's too contrasted?
Well, it's sad, but it's more like, well, and also, I mean, I'm sure they didn't design the whole plaza based on like, me coming out from the elevator, from the parking lot.
Specifically.
I'm sure there's different, access points to that central plaza. So I get it, but it just feels like a lot of emptiness and not a sense of like center or arrival or I don't know, the moment. And the big awning, I found it a little off-putting because again there's nothing underneath really but like 3 stat table and like 2 booths to buy tickets.
So the plaza might feel weird too because like I don't know how to describe this, but the both LACMA structures, the Zumthor one and the not Eisenman, what am I saying? The Brenzo piano one, they feel like they're on one side and they both front kind of like open space, like the dirt space. Yeah. And I suspect they're going to develop more there. So that's also maybe why it feels a bit asymmetric or whatever. But I agree, where the ticket booth is, it's not a great ticket booth. The awning thing is not.
This is a modern art museum area. Like this should. Like, I don't know, I'm thinking, I mean, if I think modern art museum, I think of Pompidou. Like, it's
okay, well, I mean,
it's a little bit like hard to beat, but in the same time, it didn't require much around it, and still was made like interesting. So I don't know, I'm just thinking they need something, or they need to have performance, or they need to have something. They probably do,
we just weren't there during performances.
Yeah, well, every time I go, it's like that. So I don't know.
Well,
Let me know what day to go then.
That awning structure canopy that's covering the ticket booth is underwhelming, especially in the context of, you have these 2 structures, one by Brenzo Piano, another by Zumthor, and they're like, we could nitpick about the architecture, but it's architecture. It's of a certain status and level and pizzazz or whatever you want to say. And you have this very kind of, it's just like a nothing. It's also weird because the ticket booth is like in the middle of the plaza, but there's a front and back to it. Mm-hmm. So like it doesn't make sense.
The positioning is weird. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like everything has been placed one after the other without consideration of what was there already before.
Maybe they didn't know what was going to happen next. But I did not know exactly where the Zumthor building. It's a David Geffen gallery. What is it called? Geffen? Mm-hmm. Where that building was located relative to everything else. Oh. So when you pop out of the elevators, you walk through the doors and it's right there. I probably have a photograph of it, but the first thing you see is one end of the squiggle of the gallery, this massive concrete thing right there. It's a bit jarring to see in its relationship to the plaza. It's almost like it doesn't belong. Let me say this. Let me put it this way. The spaces around the building, I didn't have any problem with, but how it faces the plaza that was the most awkward part of it, actually. And I don't know if it's because that's the end that has like a squared off bottom and glass versus the top is curved. And then the original rendering, I don't think it was square. I think it was curved.
But that's what I'm saying. I think I don't understand the master plan of the whole project.
The master plan.
I mean, it's a huge site, right? If you look at it on the map, it's a huge site, but it feels a little bit piecemeal. I'm not sure. But anyway, so we get there, get our tickets under this underwhelming canopy, and then, we're walking toward this like concrete spaceship, and the first thing I'm thinking is like, where do we enter?
Yeah.
Because there's no arrows, there is no little sign with an arrow saying like, enter this way. I'm like, where do we enter? And then I see this massive stair, and I'm like, okay, I have a stroller, so I can't take that. Sure. So do I have to walk all the way around this building? And the entry was actually kind of underwhelming too, because, we took the elevator. It's just basically like, well, it's just here's an elevator, push the button and go up.
I didn't mind it.
I didn't mind it, but it felt a little unusual for a museum. I feel like museums are usually like not super secure, but kind of like there's a whole procession. Like, there is like lockers room, big lobby, souvenir shop, like, the whole thing. And then you get to the meat of what you paid for, right? And this one didn't really feel like the usual museum. It was more like, okay, I'm going to enter this building and see what I find. And once we got up and the elevator door opened, I also thought we would enter some sort of lobby, another kind of like of layering of space before we get to it. And no, the elevator opens and you're in the exhibition. And that was kind of interesting, again, because, unusual and kind of like trimming off all the fat from museums and just getting to the point was interesting.
If I didn't know who designed it, and then someone afterwards told me this was a Herzog and de Meuron building, I'd be like, I could see that.
Are you thinking someone would tell you this is a Herzog and de Meuron?
I said if I saw this building and I didn't know who designed it, and someone told me afterwards that this was done by Herzog and de Meuron, I would say like I could see that being designed by them.
Yeah, sure.
The structure is not a typical museum like you described. It's more of an urban response, and more about, I think, engaging with space at a large scale in that way. And it doesn't care about the typical procession stuff, which I liked and appreciate a lot, because it's like, I feel in architecture, especially for public works, we often have these ideas of how to do something differently, but then it doesn't get to happen because you have the boards and like the fucking community people and then the developer people and the investors, and everyone's like, no, we got to have the lobby and the coat check. We got to have all this stuff, which you probably do have a coat check somewhere, but you got to have all these things. And then pretty soon an interesting idea, an idea that's at the scale of like site planning idea, like, massing scale idea, doesn't happen because you have to layer in all of this stuff. So I liked the fact that that some of that was taken out, and it left a more pure, architecture in terms of the massing and site planning.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we have to remember it's not called, the Geffen Museum. It's called the Geffen Gallery, and I think that does make a difference because it doesn't feel like an institution. It feels very much so like a gallery. So we get up there, and then, you open the door, and then we land on this weird sculpture that was like a sculpture of a horse without heads. It was just butts and legs. And our son was pretty confused, like, looking at it like, what animal is this? And I'm like, I don't know the name of this specific animal. But it was very interesting because, again, in your preconception of museum or even art gallery, it's always like the white surface, pristine, bright light, and the art kind of like popping off the wall or off the floor, right? Like, again, like the white canvas. And in this case, you enter into this dark, rough, raw concrete box, cold, not bright at all. I mean, bright because of the light that came in, but like the walls are not bright, and the art might or might not stand out from the wall surface, because of the colors. And that was actually very, very interesting because you don't really experience that in, again, museums or gallery, unless maybe it's like one room out of the museum that they made darker because, it complemented the art or something, but not like throughout the whole experience. And the size of the spaces too is really big.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like, it's not like, again, you enter one room, there is painting on each wall, and then you move on to the next. Like, you don't really know why and where you're going to find the art as you walk around, which was kind of interesting. Like, the informalness of where everything is, you didn't know what to expect. Yeah. Which I think was very neat.
I'll jump to the end and tell you my just key takeaway. I love this building. It's not exactly what Zumthor wanted, though, which is interesting. Like, he was quoted saying that, and maybe he was speaking a bit exaggerated, that there's not a single Zumthor detail in the project.
Left in the project.
And if you look at his renderings, his studio they don't do photorealistic renderings. They're like, kind of collagey, whatever. But the palette and the execution was quite different. It was more like beige. The rendering showed the spaces being a lot lighter, like brightness wise. I think actually some of the walls had like some texture on them. It was more like like a beige, not limestone. What's the not travertine? What's the word? I don't know. But something a stone like that, not like a concrete parking garage aesthetic, which this is closer to. And I wonder what he thinks of the project now compared to what he wanted it to be. But at a conceptual level, the big gestures are pretty close, I think, to his sketch. Minus, I think, there's a few ends of the structure that are squared off. And I don't know if that was done for value engineering purposes, or I don't know if that's something that he actually approved and wanted to take place. From some angles and perspectives, those orthogonal ends are fine. In other parts, they feel very out of place and weird. I think the interiors that you're describing, though, I love. I want to also say, though, that I don't really give too much credit to Zumthor for that. The reason why I say that, I mean, obviously he authored, it. The reason why I say that is I have seen dozens of conceptual projects that employ the same general logic of floor planning, which is to say an open kind of like rhizomatic space that is where the edges are less defined. In this case, they're less. It's narrow, but they're less defined because they're soft curves. But the edges are less defined, so you have a field condition, even if it's a narrow, squiggly structure. And then you plop down at what seem to be random orientations and distances, kind of like geometric cubes or cubic shapes, and it's like it's almost like you're outside even though you're inside with that type of space that you flow around. I have seen this type of project many, many times. I've drawn some stuff like this before. So I actually don't think that when I say I love the interior space, it doesn't mean that I'm putting Zumthor on a pedestal because of it. I've seen this before, conceptually. What I love is that it was done. And to be able to experience a space like this, I've experienced it before, but finally, let's say, is like, well, yeah, here's actual conceptual architecture made close, closely made to reality. And it produces the effects that we think it should. And so to me, it's proof that a concept and a conceptual plan can have the impact that we want it to. And if more people would just allow us architects to do that, we could produce more things that feel as good as this. There's actually a project done by Herzog and de Meuron in Spain, which I'd seen, which maybe that's why I think about it. It's I don't know what it is actually, but it's in Barcelona, and it's like a floating triangle, and the ground level has is all open, so it produces this kind of like dark space with brightness on the perimeter, right? And the ceiling of the triangle, which is the underside of it, is all mirror. And it's sort of, it has, a similar kind of feeling of this like sandwich. You have the strong horizontal plane above you and then the ground, or the floor in this case, below you. But I thought it was really wonderful to walk through because of the way it was laid out. Yeah. You want me to give you my opinion? You didn't like it.
I think I went there and I kind of wanted to hate it. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Maybe because it's just this big, massive concrete thing. I did like it. I wouldn't say I love the building. I wouldn't say it moved me at all. I would say I probably prefer the interior over the exterior. I'm not convinced by the exterior at all. I mean, there is some nice, like sunshade details and, like things like that. But like the overall form, shape, placement, scale. Mm-hmm. The scale is impressive, and it's impressive that it's so much concrete, but I don't know that I love it, and I don't know that I found it, pretty or that interesting. I think the interesting thing to me is the scale of it. Yeah. Because it's this massive thing. I don't think I've ever seen one single gesture, take over a site like this in such a minimal way, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what's impressive to me. But like, I wouldn't say it's a beautiful building, or I would want to go back and stare at it. Like, not particularly.
See, I felt the opposite.
The fact that it's elevated is interesting. I also felt a little bit off-putted by the fact that there's nothing happening at the base, really.
You gotta be kidding me. Yeah.
So
okay.
I very much enjoyed the little gift shop and whatever, and actually the design of the gift shop I really liked.
Because there's gifts, that's why.
But no, I really loved the perforated panel they had on the wall, and the shelving system I thought was really cool, and the light in the space and the height and whatever, all of that stuff. And then the stair outside, this giant stair, felt like a little awkward to me. It was just kind of like this leg that was almost felt added on to the building. It was kind of sticking out in a weird way. I wasn't really sure. I really liked the moment where we had lunch that kind of like turned the corner and there was a fountain. And I think maybe it's just my own sensibility. Like, there's a ton of hardscape around the building. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's too much hard surfaces everywhere. Yeah. I very much enjoy the moment where there is the fountain with the Calder mobile, because it just, again, kind of like starts to engage the site with the art and the architecture. And I found that dialogue a lot more interesting than like a big piece of concrete landed on another big piece of hardscape, where I'm not sure what the dialogue is in this particular example. So
there's a photograph of a model that his office did, and it showed the groundscape as being very different. In that photograph, it's a sketch model, or it's a sketch model in the sense that it's rough and small scale. I don't know if I don't mean to say sketch and as if to say that it was not a design that he was intending to go with, but the groundscape in that case was like cardboard, rough, and it had like it had contours to it, and there was like a crack in it, so it had a dynamic quality to it, which produced a much stronger dialogue between the ground level and this floating ship. I agree with you, though. I think the building would be more interesting if the dialogue between the ground level and the structure was not so much just concrete and then concrete, because the ground level is basically flat. And it's a different type of concrete. It's like it's not stained, it's colored or whatever it is. Yeah. But it's still just flat concrete. And then obviously the floor of the building is raised, and it's also just flat concrete. So there's not really a lot of like resonance between those two. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like it would have been maybe more successful if the building was really floating off the ground, meaning to say there's only just maybe like the elevator coming down and the rest was completely empty, and it was this floating saucer, above the plaza. I think that would have been super cool. Or if, again, there was more interaction between, the up and the down, the plaza and the building, and more mingling with activities and stuff. I mean, I think I like the space with the fountain because people gather and there is like things happening, and, like you can sense the life around the building, where otherwise, I don't know, I just felt kind of like lonely and didn't really know what to do. There's some really massive areas like this that are, it's the part that you probably didn't care for. I have I had a couple thoughts with the ground level. The first is, in some moments of it, I embrace the starkness and the flatness and the austerity and the scale. I think for me, it's almost like just the bigness of the space and the peculiarity of it. It's so uncommon that it feels it causes you to pause and kind of reflect and think. It's not dissimilar, frankly, to like when you're in a chapel and you have this massive volume of space in the chapel or the cathedral, and it's different. Like you don't feel that anywhere, and to feel that, I think, is, for me, has a lot of value. But I feel like I feel that in like a church or space when there is beauty in that space. And I just feel like the hardscape here doesn't really go well with the building. Like I could probably get that feeling if it felt beautiful or calling or something, but it just didn't really give me that impression. Well, what if the ground was different, but the building was exactly the same? The ground was different. Or even if the ground was
maybe just gravel. I think maybe I have an issue with the color and the texture of the ground and the actual building material that don't seem like they're really vibing together.
I agree with that as well.
Like one is beige, the other one's gray, one has like, the board form, imprints, the other one has like a rake texture and like some funky prints or whatever.
They're like different but not different. It's one of those things where they're not different enough or they're not the same enough or they should not be more similar, but they're not different enough. I agree with that. But the other thought I had was like, okay, what happens if this structure were plopped down on a different site and you had more things like infiltrating underneath it? You'd also feel probably differently, about it.
Yeah, or like, I don't know. I mean, if I imagine this is all grass underneath.
Yeah, I know.
I think that could have been really cool.
I don't know if that would work because of the sunlight.
Yeah, probably wouldn't. But or if it was sand, or if it was water. I mean, I think there's just not enough dialogue or contrast or things happening down there for me. And that stair, I don't know. I wasn't a huge
You don't
fan
like the
either.
stair?
No, it just feels like it's sticking out in the middle, and I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. So when you have a floating structure like this, the question is, how does it touch the ground, and how do you use it? How do the people get up there? And
or like a spiral stair, or like a curved stair. I think it would have probably made more sense to me than like this shaped stair.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think like
it feels like the stair they deploy from like when you exit the airport, when you land in the small airport. Like,
I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I do.
My thing is like, if you do a spiral stair, then you're mimicking an elevator, and I don't think that's what the stair wants to be. I think the stair wants to be a stair, and the elevator wants to be an elevator.
Or like a curvish stair, something that works with the shape of the building.
It does. I'm trying to find a picture of that stair. It does work with the building because it just like you see the edge of the stair.
No, it
comes
works
up
from
and
this
becomes
view.
a slab.
Yeah,
and
it
goes
works from this view. But when you're actually coming from the side you come in to enter the building, it doesn't feel like it works there.
Mm.
So I don't know. They should have looked at the view from the underwhelming canopy.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. The view from the elevator is the worst view of the building.
Yeah, fine, but like the view you approach the building is most likely where you get your tickets from.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it is the worst view of the building. Is this?
Okay, well, they should have thought about that. I mean, that's what you're going to experience.
Does not look good from this angle, does it?
No, it does not.
It looks
like
terrible.
The curve and the angle, like that doesn't.
That's a wide angle shot, but still. Not.
But my favorite part definitely was the interior. I really like the roughness of the surfaces and the darkness of the museum in the contrast of the glass. I really love those curtains. I thought they were like really beautiful.
But the concrete. So again, the concrete being a concrete look and it being that rough are often actually critiques of the building because it wasn't supposed to be like that, and you could easily say the concrete was not executed at a high level. It's not clean.
No, it's not clean, but I think it's fine. I think it's good that it's not clean, and I think in a way it works here because they embraced it everywhere, and I like that it feels rough. I like that. I don't know. I could almost imagine I'm in New York City and like a Reclaim factory looking at art. I'm not in like a pristine members only museum to be able to see those pieces. I did like the ceiling and like the triangular pattern and all the holes in the ceiling. I thought was actually kind of cool, rather than having like some awkward downlights here and there. They actually like repeated the whole pattern everywhere and just put the lights where they needed to be. So I thought that was nice. My favorite part, it's kind of like random and not thanks to Zumthor in any way, was the way they displayed art. Just kind of like, welcome to my living room. Here is some like an ancient Greece vase I have on my table. Please take a look and enjoy. I like that, but I think what I like a lot too was and again that's not related to the building, but was the mix of the art that was presented in that one continuous space. Mm-hmm. The fact that there was no, this is the old France room, this is the Italy room. It was just kind of like...
I think they were organized.
They were more or less, I think they were organized by body of water and not by continents. So they are mingling a little bit more. But I I like that there was like no doors and threshold and like wings to things. You just kind of like kept walking and you are finding, different things, which I thought was an enjoyable experience.
Well, this is why I call it more of like an urban space. Like you're just walking.
You're just meandering.
It's like you're walking through a city for the first time. You're just walking.
Yeah.
You're seeing stuff.
It's not like like a one way or like a go or like you have to exit this space to go to the next.
But I'm going to reemphasize my earlier point, which is like how many times? Plan. Yeah, but how many times have we seen that idea in a project, and how many times does it not actually happen because the actual project gets bogged down with like fucking exit signs or like whatever thing,
or things are get compartmented, or like again in museum they put up like some temporary walls to like cluster things together. I think the nice thing was that the space is wide enough that you could change the art without changing the space, which a lot of museums and galleries don't do, right? Like it's kind of like the opposite. It's like here the art is going to have to fit around what the space is like rather than the other way around.
Yeah, but it's concrete. You're not moving
any
of that stuff. It's also, what I like is that the project, if you look at the plan, it's kind of a squiggly thing. But the entire perimeter is the gallery. There's no moment where you've reached like the end of the world that has been created. Sometimes you go into buildings and the architect has created a wonderful experience, but then you wander off path and you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to go over there. Like this is the edge of the universe. I've reached the edge of Disneyland. I'm not supposed to be looking over there.
And now a little break for our show sponsors. Architects, design leaders, founders redefining the industry. If you want to shape not only buildings, but the businesses behind them, this is your moment. Future London Academy's Executive MBA takes you inside the boardrooms of Pentagram, Uber, Zaha Hadid Architects, and Google, where you will master finance, strategy, and operations from the people who already excel at them. Study alongside peers, transforming the industry worldwide, and do it all in just 9 intensive weeks over 1 year between London and California. Award-winning, transformative, crafted for design and architecture leaders with 15 plus years of experience. If you're ready to grow your impact, apply now by tapping the Future London Academy link in our show notes. But that and also I think the connection to the exterior world. Again, you go to galleries or museum, it's very close-minded, focused on the art and no other distraction, right? But here it's super interesting that you have, like you said, like, if you walk left or right, like the left side, whatever, wherever you're going to go into the next room is always going to be, you're always going to be able to see outside. And that was kind of refreshing. It was kind of cool too, because you look left and you see the tar pits, you look right and you see ancient Greek stuff, and it's kind of like, where am I? Like, what time zone am I in? What, era am I in?
I think it's wonderful, and being displaced off of the ground level by this kind of height, that automatically triggers something in everybody where you're questioning and pausing and reflecting, automatically. Like the High Line produces that. Bridge, like any structure that's elevated produces that. I have to say that
the height of the floor, the gallery is a good height.
Yeah.
Like if you're slightly too low, you're still too connected to the ground level, the noise, and like you don't feel like you're detached enough. It was a pretty good height.
And so you're there, and then it's just like this fusion of different things that you typically don't experience. And I think that's what architecture is supposed to do. It's supposed to create an environment where you are experiencing familiar things and new things, but all mixed up together, and they're just framed in a different way than, what we see all the time. And I think this is doing that. The execution of it, again, it seems to be that the architect was not pleased with, and we could, to me, the whole debate about, the concrete being rough, is that good or bad? Is it because it's quoting like LA freeways and that's great, or no, that's stupid, it's ugly? I don't really care about that part of the conversation. It's stupid to me. Like, I could see where this is an asset. I could also see where it being more of a beige and brighter and cleaner would be better. If I had my way with the $800 million, I probably would have gone with a material that's more refined and closer to what Zumthor had originally put in. Because one of my thoughts as we were walking through, whilst I was enjoying everything, is that it is so dark on the inside that in the interior of the interior, that, and it is rough and it's concrete, that if at some point, if you're there for a long time, do you just feel tired and dark and like depressed? And it's too
Heavy.
it's compressing you too. It's weighing on you too much. So I'd like to know, like, what is the experience of the what are the people that work there called?
The docents?
The docents. Interview the 100 that work there when they circulate, and what is it like being in this building versus like a typical building that's all white?
Yeah, but they can see outside all day. They get sunlight.
No, but that contrast is so strong.
Yeah, the contrast is a bit hard visually.
And let me put it this way too, is that it's a very relentless structure to be inside of.
Oh yeah, it's not for the faint of heart.
And I don't know, and maybe to your point, because it's just a gallery, it can afford to be kind of a single brushstroke.
And I think also it's not a space you're going to spend the whole day in.
Right.
Like where a museum, there's so many wings, so many floors, so many things, you could just kind of get lost and spend the whole day. Here, I think you probably come back to see more, but you wouldn't spend like 8 hours there.
I mean, another thought I had, which is related, is does it make sense? Would it be good? Would it be bad for there to have been some big cutouts in the ceiling?
Wow.
And
I don't know.
And the positives of that are really obvious. You bring more light to the center of the space. You create, if this is an assumed positive, it creates a more dynamic relationship to the sky above. It's more, you have porosity coming from the top and not just this slit. It's not a slit, but this like slit of glass around. You actually have more happening in the project. But I also could see where that would be antithetical to like to the thesis of the project, which is that no, it's not about having more funsies and having more dynamic stuff and more light and whatever and punching holes. It's just about this strip, of glass, and then the cores, which contain galleries, and like that's it. Don't fuck around with anything else.
It's interesting because we were looking for the original renderings of the LACMA, right? Before things got VE, then like things changed, it got revised and all that. And one of the renderings looks like a, 2-story tall space with a bunch of light and vertical planes and angle planes.
It looks like a completely different building.
It looks like a complete different building.
Yeah.
And, you had said at the beginning, we went to look at that building trying to like not think about who's the architect. And if you are asking me or telling me this was a Zumthor building, I would have been like, oh, that's not what I would have expected from Peter Zumthor. So
because of the general layout or because of the details?
Probably. Well, I'm not super familiar with seeing his details in person, of his work, but like I would say the general layout and interaction and connection of the pieces. Right? Like I feel like his work is very poetic, kind of like almost spiritual in some of the ways that, the planes work together and all of that. And this feels a little bit like Basic Bitch in a way, 2 planes, visor, and that's kind of it. And I would have never guessed that would have been a Zumthor building.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing too, that the detail that I kept remarking on when we were there is the windows. So, the windows have these bronze frames. And first, the thing I like about them is that there are these frames. I didn't mind that part. And I'm going to highlight that because I think one of the things that architects and especially clients, they default to is as much glass as possible, as little frame as possible, no frame. I'd rather have the biggest piece of glass possible and butt joints. And like, I get it, but I think also window frames and even mullions and things and muntins can really provide a sense of scale, datum, and a reference point to make something more magical. And it's a fallacy to think that pure glass automatically equals more connection to the outside and automatically means like a better viewing experience. It's not the case. It's absolutely not the case. Anyway, there's still quite thin bronze frames, but I like them. They helped provide a sense of like scale and reference point. The part I didn't like Okay, so you imagine a window where there's 4 sides to the frame, and then on the left and the right, the verticals are shared, with the adjacent pane. At the bottom part of the frame is sitting directly on the concrete, like you would imagine. Okay, so you have a full frame. The top stops short of the concrete by 2.5, maybe 3.5, 4 inches.
I was going to say more like 5 or 6
inches.
inches.
Okay, yeah, maybe. This scale is hard to, yeah. And there's like this black, accordion squishy looking rubber gasket thing that's 5 inches tall between the top of the window frame and the bottom of the concrete ceiling. So the purity of the architecture, which is 2 slabs and glass with frame, is fucking not there because you have this giant black band at the top around all of the windows. And I don't know if that's there. I'm going to guess it's there to absorb the flex of the structure.
Maybe for seismic.
For seismic reasons. But it is, it's big. And then the curtains are on a separate track and a separate system in front of the glass on the interior. And they're suspended through like these like metal rods, which I didn't have much of a problem with. But it's like when the building has no details because it's just concrete. So therefore, these 2 things I mentioned they're like 80% of the details of the inside, and they're right where the glass is. It just seems it's disturbing.
You look disgusted.
It's disturbing. You know what I mean? Because everything is so clean in the sense that it's just concrete and concrete and concrete. Fucking all the lines in HVAC are drilled up into the concrete, so I don't see any grills anywhere. And yet you have this like rubber gasket thing and these curtain tracks. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right.
I know, and I'm always kind of like, well, could the glass have gone into the concrete a bit higher, or do like a recessed pocket so all that stuff could be hidden, but you still get the effect? I'm sure it could have been done.
With what I said though, I can also appreciate and see where having the curtains be on a separate rail suspended from the ceiling, like detached from everything, is also a perfectly acceptable solution because it's not trying to be embedded with something, right?
Well, and also I don't think the curtain was everywhere. It was only certain spots. The tracks were not everywhere. So it was probably a cheaper detail to do that and
for sure, cheaper.
Frame it and all of that.
But also maybe it makes sense, right? Because you have the metal stuff and the metal stuff is attached to the concrete stuff. It's not like trying to be buried or hidden. Because if you have a big cut into the concrete, that also erodes the purity of the concrete slab.
Yeah.
See, this is why people are like, why does it take you so long to like design something? Like, because we think about this kind of shit throughout the entire building. And most buildings have more details. So
apparently the best I read just before this recording, the best time to go, according to this article in the wallpaper, is 4 p.m. when the sun goes down and the light is actually a lot warmer.
Oh, okay.
And everything looks kind of like, shimmery and beautiful on the inside rather than like mid-morning. So we probably
we're there mid-morning. I do like your comment about the artwork though. It's pretty weird that like they're sitting on these tables. You have like a, 300 whatever BC sculpture, like just sitting on a table that someone bought from like...
It's probably a copy that they put on display because I'm like, I don't know.
It didn't say facsimile, but it looked, it's a table that someone bought from like a Target. Maybe not a Target. Maybe it's like a DWR Design Within Reach outlet or something. Like it's just like there and skinny legs. It's like you could kick that thing over. It's really bizarre, but I kind of fuck with it.
I kind of like it because it almost makes me feel like it's somebody's private collection I'm seeing. It's not, again, this like a very elitist room I'm entering. I
did like the concrete as a textured backdrop for 2-dimensional artwork, though.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
I think
there's, especially when it was more of like the classic paintings.
Yeah,
there's a nice, clash between like the modern raw concrete and like the refinement of those paintings and the gold, frames and all of that. So that's cool.
The thing is, like when you have artwork, like in this image, the paintings you're describing, and they're against a white wall. They're always against a white wall or like a maroon wall. It's like one of those two for whatever reason. And it's like, again, on the one hand, it makes sense as a default because you don't want anything to muddy your observation of the artwork. And white, we default to being like the nothing answer, right?
Yeah.
It's not a color,
Switzerland.
It's like, it's just, exactly.
Yeah.
But it actually also has this weird effect of like, you're not able to place the artwork in reality because you're in a white box. And so for me, having the concrete background, it made the artwork real. It was like, oh, I can actually understand this thing in reality, in real space.
Yeah.
I'm in real space now with real people, real materials, real life, and I'm looking at this artwork, and it's very different. And especially because it is concrete, like, if you were standing up close, you could be outside under the freeway or wherever, and you have this like famous piece of artwork. And it just provides another way of understanding things that I think is a worthwhile counterpoint to the white art gallery, which is an abstract, not real space. So I also really like that the openings to the galleries, the threshold doorway thing, they're not doorways, there's no doors, but the openings varied in height. Mm-hmm. So some of them are tall, which means you can fit larger artwork. Some of them are short, which means that you're not going to fit big pieces in here ever. Because I'm pretty sure none of those walls move. I didn't see any evidence that those could be, movable. And yeah.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. I do feel like they have room to add more stuff though.
What do you mean?
Artwork wise.
Like it wasn't dense enough, you mean? Like,
yeah, I feel like, more like big pieces, like big sculpture. And I'm sure they're gonna, add to it. It wasn't clear to me if this is like a permanent collection or things are gonna change around a little bit.
What do you think about the ceiling height?
I thought it was fine.
It definitely could not be lower.
No, but I think if you were gonna go higher, it would have destroyed the effect of the glass, looking out. I think you kind of need a certain format of view before it becomes about the height and not about the view anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. In some moments it was fine. In other moments I felt like it could be just like a smidge higher. By a smidge, I mean like 4 inches taller.
Okay, get out of here.
No, but it just, because it goes back to my comment about it feeling like kind of compressing. And not compressing as in like interesting, but like it's squishing you. Yeah. And I wonder if it's a little more high.
The open plan was kind of cool. It was also kind of confusing because you didn't really know where you were going. I felt like I missed definitely parts of the museum. So in a way, I want to go back to, explore the parts I did not see, but I'm not sure I would even be able to recognize the part I did not see.
Yeah, well, it's also because everything's the same material, so it's easy to get kind of confused and lost. Apparently, the curtains are made with
metal. Yeah.
I got in trouble because I touched the curtain, and one of the docents came up and was like, "Please do not touch the curtains."
She was a bitchy docent anyway. There was this lady who had a tiny backpack purse, and she asked her to put it on one shoulder. I'm like, I think that's more risky to be on one shoulder than on the back. That's like how you swing it around.
Why would you care if it's on one shoulder?
I'm like, you're not at the Louvre here. You're not, like going between like Mona Lisas and whatever. Like you have plenty of space. She's not gonna touch anything. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Chill.
There's certain docents, they correct you and that's their job, fine, and that's it. And there's others, they correct you and they proceed to like talk to you about like why it's the case. Like I don't really fucking care. Just Also, I don't know. The curtains are there, man. They're going to be touched. Like they're there. There's not behind a railing.
What is this picture?
That's the the exit vestibule door. That's inside. That's like a corner. It's like the door meeting the thing.
No, but the stick.
Probably a fire. I can't tell. My eyes aren't very good. Sprinkler thing. Yeah. Screw heads. Bolt heads. Yeah. That's funny. I don't have any problems with the staircase, but the brise soleil was nice. I like that. It's kind of interesting that it's a stainless steel
I was gonna say,
next to the bronze. I don't have a problem with it though.
No, I don't.
if anything, it makes sense in terms of, being logical with where you put materials. Like the bronze is the bronze, the steel is the steel, the concrete's the concrete. You don't mix them. You don't combine them. But I thought that was a nice detail. Expensive detail. Thought this was cool. And the gallery. I like the gallery. It's nice.
It would be interesting to go at night or later in the season when because there is lights on the facade and those ceilings to see what that looks like when it's dark.
Yeah. Let's talk about the bathrooms. Some serious doors for the bathrooms. Those doors were expensive doors. I mean, I guess you're doing an $800 million building. You might as well have nice bathroom doors, but compared to typical bathroom doors, yeah, those were heavy doors, recessing concrete. That's expensive.
But then they had the cheapest paper towel in there. It's like see-through. I'm like,
I mean, look at this bathroom door. It's like, look at that.
I wasn't sure we would come out of there.
That's the
like
cost of like an entire
room.
kitchen is that this whole door and the surround of the door. Fuck. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Let's talk about lunch. So Erewhon, which for those who don't know is actually mostly like a supermarket, but it's a fancy LA supermarket. It's the one where, there's like Whole Foods, that was like the expensive, and then there's Erewhon, and there's one above Erewhon, I think. Erewhon is the type of place you go into, and all the food, it's like a gallery. All the food is like perfectly aligned and stocked, beautiful. It's also the place where...
Well, the founder of Erewhon is Japanese, right? So that's where all that comes from.
Well, that is super racist, but fine.
It's culturally accurate. You go to Japan and eat like big stores in Japan. It's like everything's so pristine. Nobody actually buys anything. They just come and look at it.
Because it would be rude to buy those things to disrupt the
order.
ecosystem of the... So yeah, that's Erewhon. It's also the place where X years ago, maybe they still do, you could buy water in a glass jug for $20 if you wanted to.
That's used to, yeah.
And it's not like 100 gallons of water. It's like, a liter of water for $20. Or you buy a special Erewhon smoothie that the celebrities drink, and theirs are like $15 a piece. It's this kind of place. Yeah. But they have an Erewhon cafe at the bottom of LACMA. And that's where we had lunch. And so first of all, that thing is way too fucking small. What are we doing? A massive building, and they have an Erewhon cafe that's the size of a fucking closet. It was hot and uncomfortable and just too small. I don't know what they were thinking when they were programming that thing.
It looked like an afterthought to me.
Right? Like they took a storage closet and they shoved in
like
a
tiny, I don't know, local cafe, and then like Erewhon was like, hey, I want a bite of this. And
a tiny bite. Like it's really small.
Yeah, it was, thank goodness they had outdoor sittings, because I don't even know inside if you could sit anywhere.
No. There was.
Oh, but so, it was like 3 tables?
There's, I don't know if I have a picture of it. Yes, there were 3 tables. You line
up on the right, and on the left, I think there was just a little sitting area, but that was like pretty small.
Yeah. The actual part that has like the register and you pick your food and order and stuff is, it's got to be from the counter. It's got to be not even the counter to the back wall, behind the counter to whatever. The walls have got to be 10 feet maybe.
No, probably more than that.
Front to back?
Not much more than that.
Not much more than that. And then left to right, it's like maybe 25.
Yeah.
Like it's tight. It makes no sense. I don't know. Meanwhile, you have massive amounts of outdoor space and concrete cubes, and you have this tiny fucking thing, and people are trying to get lunch. It just like what? I don't understand it. What do you think of the food?
Oh, the food was really good. The food was
sushi.
Sushi was pretty good.
Yeah, it was okay.
I was hungry and it was fresh. So
fair. No, it was like the sushi was okay. The sandwich was good.
I wouldn't go there for sushi. True. But I was looking for food, and it was better than like.
This has nothing to do with architecture. Here's the thing I don't understand about sushi. So you go to a sushi restaurant, like a decent one, not an upscale one, not like the super cheap one, like a decent one. It's gonna be okay, right? Mm-hmm. It's gonna be sushi. How many grocery stores that are even fancy ones like Erewhon, they sell sushi and you bite into it, you're like, this is mediocre at best. How can you, is it that complicated? It's fucking, we got California rolls, which is like the whitest thing to get, but it's like fucking rice, seaweed, and some imitation crab and avocado. Like, how do you fuck that up? How do you not be as good as a sushi restaurant for the California roll?
It all comes from the rice, the seasoning, the little.
I know the magic is in the rice, but but come on.
Well, I don't
know. It's Erewhon.
Yeah, I don't know.
For whatever $15 for 5 bites of sushi, whatever it was, I expect better. But the sandwich was good, and the what did we get? Some kind of matcha sesame.
Black sesame matcha latte. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. We got like a pastry thing. That was pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
But so the problem with
That's
having good food.
the best part of going to museums is the souvenir shop and the cafe.
That was the first thing you listed. Biased toward sweets and treats.
I'm French after all. And then, as we were inside the museum, we see this wacky looking building that looks unused, which is, I think, some sort of Japanese center for art or something like that. Pretty strange.
Super strange. Yeah.
And it didn't look open, but I was like, this is such a wacky thing. Like, again, who would order a building like that? Like, it's like you go order food, you go to the counter, like, okay, so I would like a funky building that looks somewhat Asian, perhaps some sweeps and swoops and like some things sticking out on the roof and make it green so it blends in and add a splash of ice cream on top, like.
It's one of the strangest things I've seen.
I'm like,
I don't even know. I'm trying to think of like an analogy.
Sometimes the simplest thing with clients is so hard to get through. And then I'm like, and then there's people who commission that. And I'm like, what?
My thing is, like, if you're a client and you're on board with that, could you commission an architect to do a fucking better job? Like, I don't have a problem with wackiness. I don't have a problem with more avant-garde things. I don't have a problem with postmodernism. I'm open to a lot of stuff. But this is just ugly and stupid.
It's pretty weird.
There are a few things that if they had carried through in a different way, it'd be cool. But this is just bullshit. Like, this is bullshit. It's just bullshit. And it's the type of thing that pisses me off, too, because, like, if some student were presenting this, they'd have all his words and argument around it, be some stupid critic being like, well, this is actually really interesting architecture because blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's fucking ugly. Shut up. What are you doing? Critics. But I think it is on the subject of critics, it's too easy to get lost in words. Like, you can rationalize anything if you try hard enough. And it's like, you gotta draw a line somewhere. Like, that's where I was saying, the whole debate about concrete, it being concrete versus, like, it bores me. Like, yeah, you could debate that forever. So what?
Yeah.
But that thing, stupid.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of it.
I think it's kind of it. I really like the fountain and the Calder sculpture. Yeah, they just need to buy more sculptures to put around the museum.
I know.
Yeah, no, but that was cool. Next on our list, I think, is the Lucas Museum opening in September. I'm curious to see that one too.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
No,
that'll be fun to see. It's interesting too because both of them have a similar kind of swoopiness to in the plan, but they're completely different takes on like what it's supposed to be. And actually, there was Zumthor had said that the geometry of the plan was not something that he decided it to be. He was like, he wanted the building to perform in a certain way and to achieve certain things. And he's like, that was the best geometry for it, which is honest as opposed to architects who have a formal agenda. And that's all they're going to do regardless of anything else. Yeah. And then they rationalize it through some bullshit. That's like, oh, it's like nature or some whatever nonsense. Yeah. Hint, 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 hint. Yeah. It's a preview of my review of the Lucas Museum.
Well, let's go without any preconception and our hearts and minds open, David.
But I mean, I'm going to repeat myself in a few months when we go there. But this argument that architecture in the form of it is validated because it mimics the forms of nature is such fucking horseshit. Like, can we stop with that? I have no
problem with it if it's executed in the jungle and you're trying to blend in. Like, it's camouflage. Yeah. Fine. But if you're in like the middle of like New York or like LA, it's like, what nature are you talking about? There is no biophilic anything here.
But the argument is that, well, as humans, we are programmed to, as a species, as an animal, to feel a certain way as a result of certain shapes and forms, and that these kinds of soft curve whatever things are more like nature. And then it's like saying well, you feel a certain way when you're in nature, right? You feel good. Well, there's certain things that make you feel that way, and we're taking out those things, which are the geometries, and putting in the buildings. Therefore the buildings are validated and you feel better or whatever because of that. I just think it's boring and stupid.
I don't know. I don't know if the little veining of a leaf is what's gonna make you feel good in a building that does that at a scale that's like blown up like 300 times bigger.
I also fundamentally disagree. The thing I don't like is that it's like, okay, so all of the buildings you ever do are going to be that way, right? Well, okay, that seems kind of dumb. The other thing too, I disagree with a take like that, because depending on how you defined people and nature and man-made stuff in nature and whatever else, like, we exist as a species, part of nature, but also we're very different from everything else in nature. Like, that's part of what it means to be human, is just this conflict. And to just like to not embrace the conflict, which is to say, to be open, I think, to other forms, geometries, colors, materials, and whatever else, and to acknowledge that that's the nature of what we're doing, is to wrestle with this conflict, I think it's not true. It's a lie. So I'm very much against that form of argument, and I think it's weak. I think it's the type of argument you see in a second-year student, which none of the critics would really buy, except for the one stupid person. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of things you can learn from looking at nature, and in different ways. Doesn't mean that everything has to be looked at the same way, and that you cannot extract one thing and make it, again, your own and move it forward. So anyway, all right.
Wrap it up. Give us an outro.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to this episode. If you like what we do, please leave us a review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We're also on social media, Second Studio Pod. Website, secondstudiopod.com. And the hotline, 213-222-6950. If there is a building in LA you want us to go take a look at and do a design review, let us know. I'd be happy to spend our weekend.
Actually, that's explore. A good one. Yeah, suggestions to see stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, it has to be local. We can't really fly around to see stuff unless somebody's paying for our expenses.
Even then, we don't have time.
Sure,
if you can invent teleportation and then invite us.
I've been asking for it for years, and listeners who've listened to us know about it. So whoever is working on teleportation, if we could get an ETA on it, that would be awesome.
2.5 hour driving time max from where we are.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's gracious, right?
Because then we don't have any more battery in our car. So.
All right. Talk soon. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.